Ми пам'ятаємо. We remember.
Tell me about your relative. How old was she?
Well, it was my grandmother who lived through Holodomor. Her name was Yakemenko Raisa Yukhemivna, and she was 5'6" when during Holodomor. She was born in 1927 in the village of Strihuni, Belgorod district and Kharkivska Oblast. And she told me some of her memories, some instances about Holodomor. She was very energetic and she was a very strong woman. She lived through a lot of hardship in her life. When she was 14, first she lived through Holodomor. She lost her mom when she was very young. Her mom, as she told me, was killed by lightning. And she was a fourth child in the family of 5. She only had a younger brother and she had 3 older sisters. Her family was wealthy farmers, which were called kurkuli in those times, meaning that they were well-to-do, and when Soviets came, they were arresting people like that because they were taking everything away from them into collective farm. So her father ran away from the family to the city because he knew otherwise he will be arrested and sent to Siberia. That way he could work. He was, as I was told, he was a good master building ovens, and that way he could support his family and to make sure that the family has at least one parent because, as I said, her mom was killed by lightning.
What was her life like during Holodomor?
So there are a couple instances I remember which really got stuck in my memory. First, that they were very hungry and they would go outside as soon as the snow melts to look for frozen potatoes in the village, leftovers from the year before. Anything they would find like that, they would bring home and cook. They were able to survive, as I was told, because all the sisters worked, one of them worked in the cafeteria in the city, and she was able to bring home to them some scraps of food. And one very striking memory, what my grandmother told me, that one day her older sister brought from the city big loaf of bread, and they were so happy that they at least one day they will have a lot of food, and they started cutting this bread, and when they cut it open there was a hat baked inside. So somebody put the hat inside in order to save on the flour, to make it look bigger, and so that was a big surprise for them. But luckily, grandmother and all her siblings, they survived Holodomor, and she lived to tell the story to us.
What else happened to her after Holodomor?
She had a difficult life. When she was 14, she was taken by Germans to Germany as a forced labor. And when she was in Germany, when she was 16, she got married to a POW, to somebody who was captured by Germans. And my mother was born in Germany. And then after the war finished, they returned back to Ukraine. She never came back to her village in the eastern Ukraine, and she went back to her husband's parents. It was a village very close to the border of Poland. And after a couple years of family happy life together, her husband died from stomach cancer, because I was told that he wasn't getting any food when he was captive in German camp. And she left alone with 2 small children, 2 young children, my mom and her brother, and 2 elderly who were parents of her husband. So she told me, I think 26, 25 when she became a widow, and she never remarried. She raised the children herself, and she went to live. Then she raised us, me and my 2 brothers. She was a great grandmother to us. She took care of us, and we loved her, and she lived until 87 years old. She was working hard all her life, and she was very strong and energetic lady and never complained. She was a good example to us.
So how did you talk about Holodomor with your family?
You know, I grew up in Soviet Union, so Holodomor was a crime committed by Soviet regime. So it was very much hidden from us. We were not allowed to talk about it. And I only found out when the Soviet Union was falling apart and I was a teenager. I was really surprised, you know, when I heard about it. I think I saw the movie which was called Harvest of Sorrow, about Holodomor, and that movie was made somewhere abroad. And it was an eye-opener about Soviet crimes, and an eye-opener how many of our people, of Ukrainians, were perished. And it was a deliberate crime towards Ukrainians. It was a genocide in order to destroy Ukrainian culture and Ukrainians as people. Same what's happening now, unfortunately. We know that during Holodomor the numbers are between 3 million to 11 million. It depends on the sources how many people perished. But we have the same today as Russia attacked Ukraine and the Ukrainians are defending their land. We don't know yet the numbers, but we know that Russians not only destroying our people and killing civilians, destroying our cities, they're also trying to destroy our culture by deliberately targeting museums, libraries, theaters. It's a well-established fact now already that Russians committing genocide in Ukraine against Ukrainian people and Ukrainian culture.
Проект «Пам'ятаємо» створений за співробітництва мережі нащадків Голодомору при Світовому конгресі українців та української телемережі «Контакт».